Dildo Island in the upper reaches of Trinity Bay. There's nobody there these days, but 100 years ago there was. In fact, Dildo Island then held the largest fish hatchery in the world. This man was in charge, Adolf Nielsen, a Norwegian, a pioneer in the new science of aquaculture. He came here by invitation of the Newfoundland government to hatch and raise codfish. It was an effort to boost the sagging inshore fishery. Millions of tiny codfish were incubated here on Dildo Island and released into the ocean 100 years ago. Time passed. The government lost faith, the hatchery crumbled and disappeared. But it didn't really matter to most people, for the cod soon returned on their own to the inshore grounds. With waters as naturally prolific as this, no one wanted to spend money on hatcheries and fish farms. No longer would Newfoundland be on the leading edge of the new technology. With fish like this around, we didn't need science. We didn't need aquaculture. We would be hunters of fish, not farmers, and so it would be for a long, long time. Then, a few years ago, these cages appeared in Bay Bull's harbor. Cages made of netting, surrounded by a wooden boardwalk. Inside, schools of codfish. This is a codfish farm, the brainchild of Cabot Martin, seen here a couple of years ago, feeding his charges. Unlike old Adolf Nielsen and modern Norwegian aquaculturists who raise fish from the egg, Cabot buys young cod straight from the fishermen.
We start right away at around a 2-pound fish, or minimum of 1.5 pound fish, and we can take that fish from the trap alive, transport it in a number of ways, but usually we use a converted trap skiff to our farm, and then we add weight, and we can double the size of the fish from, say, mid-July to mid-November, and then we can harvest that fish in a very, well, you might say, leisurely way. We can take very good care of the quality. We can live bleed the fish. We can turn out a fillet which is, there is no equal from any wild fishery anywhere in the world. And we can offer, regular supply to customers. So that's the objective. Now, we got the starting stock, we have food, we have in our trap fishermen and other people associated with the inshore fishery a good, strong group of people who could become farmers. And we have a good market in the United States, and we have another market opening up in Europe, which is a little bit less attractive right now because of freight shipment by air, but I think will be a big thing in the future. So I think that all the basic, there are no insurmountable barriers here at all.
It's enthusiastic, optimistic words like these that inspired two fishermen on New World Island to become fish farmers themselves. Last July, the fishery here was so bad that some fellows had already taken their nets ashore in disgust. For the few fish they were catching, it simply wasn't worth the effort. But the Mehaney brothers had other ideas. They live in Newville, which has a nice sheltered harbor, an ideal place for a fish farm. With some help and advice from fish farmer Cabot Martin, Floyd and Eugene soon had the contraption ready. It probably raised a few eyebrows, but as long as this cage made them a few extra dollars from the fishery, Floyd didn't really care. This would be their first year, a time to experiment and learn. You're the first people to try this, the first fishermen, I believe, are you?
I think so, as far as we know.
How many have you got down there now?
About probably 600 pounds.
They look in good condition though, don't they?
Yeah, they're swimming well.
Suppose you get to know them by now, after 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, usually they're tip over, and if there's anything wrong with them, they'll roll over. You can see them turning over in the bottom of the cage. But these are swimming good. They all swim counterclockwise.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So you're learning a bit all the time about codfish?
Every day. This is a new experience.
What else do you feed them besides bait?
Herring, mackerel, squids. We got a few squids in our cod trap there last week, so the cod got the pips and we got the squid. It's a great way to do it. There's so many going to die when you're transporting them, but well, you can always sell them or saw them.
So small fish is one of the main problems now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, what we got here is just an ordinary run trap pad, right? No, small and big mixed together. There's one in there, it should be around 3 feet.
Of course, even that one can double
it doubles weight. Yeah, we figured it was going to be about 12 pounds. If we fatten them up enough.
Wouldn't the big fish sort of crowd out the small ones if they're all different sizes?
No, they won't. They'll stay in there all together once they get used to swimming in the pan. The bigger they are, the better. You got one 2 pound, he's going to double his weight as 4. You got one 6, he's going to be 12. So the bigger they are, the more weight you're going to have at the end of the year.
So you've got high hopes for this?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's going to work out all right. It looks like it. This really seems to be proving out all right.
When will you market these now, what you got here?
The end of October, first part of November, just before freeze up.
Have other fishermen asked you any questions about this? Are they interested in this or not?
Yes, there's a lot of fishermen interested in it. I say that probably next year there'll be several of them around.
So this could be just the beginning?
I say it is. I say within the next 10 or 15 years, everybody have them.
You think it's going to solve a lot of the problems of the inshore fishery?
Oh, it's going to solve the gut problem altogether. You know, when you can't sell as a plant, you put it in your farm. And you take it out as a plant wants it.
So the fishermen will become farmers?
I would say. Oh, that's a nice one there, look.
When we return, it will be fall. Harvest time on farms everywhere, including the Mehaney's codfish farm on New World Island. We'll find out what kind of a crop they'll have. This is the Ocean Sciences Centre in Logie Bay, one of the places visited last year by the Mehaney brothers and their one-man crew, Ernest Burge, in their quest for information about aquaculture in general and fish farming in particular. They chatted with aquaculturalist Gareth Fletcher, who's working on, of all things, codfish. The boys were curious about these fish, how they were fed and cared for. But of particular interest was their ability to adjust to cold temperatures. Well, the Mehaneys plan to keep some fish over winter.
How cold is this water here now?
Yeah, how cold this one here is -1.5. So it's below the freezing point of the fish. From my point of view, that's one of the hardest things to overcome is overwintering. You know, getting the codfish to survive the wintertime. Because what happens actually is the water temperature goes down below the freezing temperature of the fish. And the codfish, for the codfish at least around this area, that's about -1.2.
So
what about below that? You've got a danger of the fish freezing to death. We work on the cod here. I work on antifreeze proteins in the cod here. That's the mechanism they use to stop themselves from freezing. And what we do know is the small cod make way more antifreeze than the big ones do. Say the juvenile, the little guys. You know, say 2-3 year old, they make enough there to survive almost any kind of conditions. So what I don't know is when you go further north, like going up your way, down your way there, whether they actually make more antifreeze down that way altogether. These things are all completely unknown.
So the smaller ones would be the better ones to winter over the under
probably. You know, somebody would have to sort of look at that with you and see what's going on with the fish.
Antifreeze quotients in fish. Strange talk for 3 fishermen from New World Island. But Floyd, Eugene and Ernest soaked it all up. They're hungry for information, eager to exchange notes with others who are involved in the raising of fish. Upstairs, they were somewhat surprised to see young eel pouts and lumpfish being raised. The boys are involved in the lump fishery themselves, so these little blue lumps were of more than passing interest. It's one thing to pull them up in a net. It's something else to see how they swim and behave underwater. But there was one real mystery of the sea that Floyd wanted answered. How in the world does the eel pout with its soft, rubbery mouth manage to eat oar's eggs?
The eel pout now, they digest the sea urchins.
Slowly, probably. I'm not too sure of that. I don't know. I mean, they obviously have a system.
He just swims over the bottom and just grabs
that and the wolffish. Both of those animals eat a lot of that stuff, and they have to have a system that takes care of of all the spines in the outer case. You know, so they must have it.
Because you don't have the teeth to crush them, right?
Yeah. No, that's right. Now the cod, like you guys, are doing some nice stuff. We don't have to depend on raising them. I mean, they come in from the field and stuff like that, and then that growth you get in a couple months is really great.
In scientist Joe Brown, the Mehaneys found yet another kindred spirit. Someone else interested in aquaculture, committed to this new science. But the Mehaneys discovered that their little embryonic fish farm has generated great interest too, here in the scientific community. Scientists and fishermen, each learning from the other.
So these guys get along good together, eh?
So far, yeah. This is more like the display type.
Farming the bottom of the sea. The prospects are exciting, the potential mind-boggling. For thousands of years, we've been hunters of fish, chasing them all over the ocean, wildly, blindly dropping our hooks and flinging our nets. Some, like these schools of capelin, we probably always have to hunt, but others can be farmed. Aquaculture is new, but the potential for growth is limited only by our imagination. Who knows what will one day grow in this beautiful underwater garden? The lumpfish. Right now we kill them to get their eggs, which is used to make caviar. Will we ever be able to extract the eggs and let the fish go to breed again? Maybe. Scientists are now working on this and numerous other problems. There are thousands of species of fish in the ocean, some familiar, some strange. There are thousands of questions to be asked about the relationship between different species, about how we should fish. Some feel that aquaculture will be an increasingly important part of the fishery of the future. But that's enough crystal ball gazing. It's November. It's harvest time on the Mehaney's Codfish Farm.
You see them down there with the camera down there?
Is there any bait in the water now?
I don't know about now, but a couple of weeks ago there was lots of it.
What, like
Cabot Martin has come out to help. So has Jonathan Moir of the Fisheries Innovation Centre.
Billfish.
billfish, yeah.
The fish have been there since July. The question is, how have they fared? What condition are they in? Did they all survive? Have they gained weight? The Mehaneys have been hand-feeding the fish with capelin and squid pips. Hopefully they'll be fat and profitable. But there's only one way to find out. The harvest begins.
Go on, then. No, I don't.
Well, if you can go by the fuss the fish are making, the long confinement hasn't weakened them. In fact, someone suggested the boys had spiked the squid pips with steroids. This is the first harvest for the Mehaneys, but Cabot Martin is an old hand at it now. He's been handling fish at his C4's plantation in Bay Bulls for several years. He's anxious to see the Mehaneys and others succeed, and hopefully to be involved in marketing their catch when they get going. The main aim is not to just produce fillets. It's to produce the very best fillets on the market. That means careful handling and bleeding.
Now usually when we do this, we anesthetize them, right? We'll use a CO2 and lock them out, right? And it'll, won't be.
And you have it on the special.
And it's not. It
table,
won't
too.
be as much, and it'll be on a special table. Just behind, just slash his gills. Cut the gills right off. That's it. Okay, now into the water.
Bleeding the fish greatly improves the quality of the flesh. They should get top price, especially at this time of year. But the main run of inshore fish is long gone, and the markets are strong. The Mehaneys are encouraged. It looks good. And aquaculturalist Jonathan Moir is impressed too. The fish are big and strong.
They're in fantastic condition, though, I must say.
Yeah, and it's what would you say is the biggest reason?
Well, they've certainly been really well fed on squid and mackerel and stuff like that. And you can, by looking at them, you can see that
there's no disease.
No disease on them, no
parasites.
and the skin is in fantastic condition. It's
Yeah.
really, it's smooth. There's no damage to the skin at all. No scale loss or anything like that.
I say it's not bad for the first year, Eugene. The first codfish ever raised by a trap fisherman, right? Yeah. Here. The first one ever going to be eaten too. Right? And we're going to have something to eat. Huh? We'll have one. We'll have one for dinner.
Yep.
The Mehaneys plan to keep some of the fish all winter. These are weighed and tagged so that individual growth can be measured in the spring.
I always tag on the left-hand side of the fish behind the dorsal fin, okay? And that's my usual spot.
Technique. He's just telling you his technique.
I'm just telling you my technique. You take the fish. It's really cold now, so I'm not using an anesthetic, okay? So I stick the needle in, tag it, okay? And I normally, I should have had the deck wet here, but normally I would have a proper measuring scale, and I got what are we starting at? 36. That's 36. It's 54 and a half is what it is. Okay, just write down 54 and a half. I'll do the adjustments afterwards.
Weighing?
He weighs
1/4 pound.
2 1/4.
And the next one. Usually when I'm doing tagging and weighing and measuring, I do a quick check over for pathogens and stuff like that to see if there's any parasites or if there's any lesions on the fish or anything like that to see how, see the general state of health that they're in. So I mean, you can see just looking at these fish here that they're in, they're in fantastic shape. One of the things we found very surprising this summer was the temperatures here. What did they go up to? 18. They went up to 18 degrees. All the literature shows that in fact cod find it very difficult to compensate to grow at temperatures much higher than about 14 degrees centigrade. So they seem to have done very, very well.
The results are astounding. The fish have doubled their weight. What the remainder will do over winter remains to be seen. The benefits to a trap fisherman are obvious. In a bad year when the fish are scarce, you can double your weight and double your profits. During a glut, you can hold your catch till the plants are ready. Undoubtedly, there will be problems and growing pains as this fledgling industry feels its way along. Some fish will die. Storms will destroy cages. There may be parasites or predators or scavengers. But fishermen are accustomed to battling the forces of nature, and problems can be resolved.
So that fish actually weighs 6.5 pounds.
Right now, everything looks good, and it's only the first year.
Not bad for amateurs. Next year you'll be better, right?
Can we take one of those really
Bit of practice.
Farming codfish in Newfoundland, it's hard to believe. As we watched the Mehaneys take in their first harvest, we wondered, will it really catch on? Should it be developed by big companies with large capital investment, or by families like the Mehaneys? And what will be the role of Cabot Martin of Sea Forest Plantation, the pioneer of codfish farming in Newfoundland?
We had already come to the conclusion that the best way to develop cod farming was through family-owned or crew-owned farms, and we hope to serve as a marketing agent or as a supplier of technology or keeping people together in a uniform way, because there are serious marketing considerations that we have to think about. Cod farming with fresh fillets has an opportunity of realizing some very, very significantly higher prices than what is currently being realized by the frozen fish trade.
And now, finally, it's time for the real test. The proof will be in the eating. The Mehaney women weren't home, so the men invaded the kitchen and took over. Jonathan was the chief chef, and how could he miss with fillets like this?
It's good enough to eat, isn't it? We have a slight problem with the cooling here because of the freshness.
You say it's terrible?
No, you're not allowed to say it's terrible.
No, you can't.
Well, to make a long story short, the taste was superb. Thick, juicy, milk-white fillets of choice cod.
Anyway, this is the
Hey, wow! This guy really knows how to cook.
first bit of
Cabot, could you
farm cod.
salt and pepper, please? Cabot?
Come out of New World on. The harvest of the sea, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and bigger and better next year. Amazing.
Fish is excellent next year.
This is good. Gotta get some way.
A feast of farmed codfish on New World Island. A toast to a new era.
Just good, Cabot.
Hopefully, fillets like these will one day reach the gourmet markets of the United States and Europe and fetch tremendous prices.
You can roll us out of the car after.
But increasing the price of fish is only one of many possible benefits. If fish farming catches on and spreads, it could in fact revolutionize the inshore fishery, change the relationship between buyer and seller, and solve some nagging problems to boot. For instance, by being able to hold fish alive in cages, the fish farmer can avoid the summer glut and pick his own good time to sell. There'll be no need to dump small fish, for these can grow to market size on the farm. And how they do grow, doubling weight and adding inches in a few months' feeding. The Mehaneys figure they would have earned an extra $6,000 in 1989 if they'd been able to hold all their fish till fall. There'll be setbacks as this little industry struggles along. The Mehaneys had their first setback late in the fall when a wicked windstorm destroyed their cage and released the fish they'd hoped to keep all winter. But they haven't lost faith. In fact, they can't wait for spring to start up again.
The amount of knowledge that fishermen have about the cod as an animal, and its habits, and what you can do or not do is tremendous. And you add a little bit of new knowledge, a little bit of aquaculture type knowledge to that basic pool of knowledge, and I think the transition can be very quick. I mean, the Mehaneys, the experience in New World Island this summer is, I think, typical of what could happen with a very minor amount of training and exposure to new ideas. It's not really training; it's exposure to new ideas, and it's sharing between the aquaculturists and the trapmen, the sharing of each other's different types of knowledge.
The approach that sea forests have used, where they've got fish that are basically got through the most difficult and high mortality years of their life. And now, and just by keeping them in the farm for a year, they can increase their size and their weight dramatically. It certainly has good application for rural development in Newfoundland, at least as a rural application of aquaculture in Newfoundland, where a lot of people can get involved without a very high expense and in something that's technically not very difficult.
So you could have over 100,000 pounds.